So thank you so much, Sharon Williams from FEMA, coming here this evening with the Trachtenberg School for Public Policy and Public Administration and speaking to graduate students throughout GW about FEMA and culture and mission and employment opportunities. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Can you hear me? Okay, good. Great. I just want to make sure. So hello, everyone, and good evening. So my name is, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Sharon Williams. I'm a talent acquisition specialist with FEMA. And to be honest with you, I've been with the organization for about 6 months now. So I started back in October of last year, and it has been such a difference in my life. Prior to that, I was with private sector, so I didn't have any government experience. I had HR experience, recruitment, of course. I have all of that. I have a degree, master's degree, and so forth, but I could never get my foot in the door with the government in spite of my background, education, my experience, and so forth. So I came upon an opportunity. One day, FEMA was holding a hiring event, and we do those from time to time. When we talk about a hiring event, it's a little different from a career fair. Career fair is where we're participating with other employers. And we have booths, and we're talking to you guys as you come to every booth, et cetera, et cetera. With a hiring event, it is private, so it's just FEMA. And what we do is we bring individuals in, we invite people, we send out, advertisements, et cetera. But you have the opportunity to meet with the hiring managers face to face. So these would be the experts that will talk with you about job opportunities, et cetera. And in some cases, there might be some job offers that has happened and immediate job offers on site. And that has happened. But going back to my story, so unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, but they do give you the opportunity to submit your resume as well. So that's what I did. And lo and behold, I got a call. Oh, you know what? Hey, I'm looking for a job, got a job, et cetera, et cetera. And went from there. So that's how I got my foot in the door. So that was through just continuing to monitor those things. I do like to take advantage of hiring events if I can. That's what I was looking at. And for this particular one, unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend because I was at my other job, at that time. So just want to let you know that it can happen to you if it happened to me. Okay, so there's hope there. Um, as you know, with FEMA, if you don't know anything about FEMA, what we do is we help people before, that is, disaster victims, before, during, and after disasters. So there's a lot that we do within that. I'm not going to, because, due to time constraints, I won't go into a lot with that, but you can just go to FEMA.gov. And that's where we have information, more information available to you on, basically what we do. We are currently, I can tell you that because you want me to get to the big stuff about what are you doing and what are you hiring for. So we have a number of positions that we are hiring for, whether they be reservists. And those people are basically the backbone of what we do. These are our responders. They go out and they serve and work during disasters. And that could be anywhere within the United States. So it's not outside international, because I know we get a lot of questions about that. But it's within the United States, wherever there is a disaster, these people are called to go out and to assist that is, with disasters. Now, for reservist employees, again, these are intermittent, on-call positions. So these are not full-time roles. But with our reservists, here's the good thing about it is that if you have a full-time job, which you can actually also serve as a reservist. A lot of people don't know that. They go, oh, really? How can I be a reservist if I work full-time? I'm not going to give up my full-time job. So, of course, we don't expect you to do that. So there's this new act called the CREW Act. And what that does, it protects you, protects your job. You get job protection. Your full-time job is not jeopardized because you go to work as a reservist for FEMA. All you need to do is provide your supervisor with that information, and they cannot terminate you. They cannot retaliate against you. They cannot dock your pay. They cannot, demote you or anything like that. You can have your same or similar job waiting for you once you served as a reservist. So that's one of the pluses about that. You receive your same pay, et cetera. None of that is affected. when you go to serve as a reservist. Also, as a reservist, we have over 23 cadres or groups. So depending on your skills, you might be able to work in whatever area that you are able to work in based on your skills. So those are our reservists. Then we have our permanent full-time positions. Now, these are hired through a competitive process. This is where we get into that. And the difference between the permanent full-time reservists are much more streamlined. It's a very much streamlined process to that of a permanent full-time employee, which is competitive. And this is where you are required to have an application submitted, as well as you are required to interview as well. So I know this is where we get a lot of questions about what do I need to do, et cetera, et cetera. And it is very important that you go out to jobs, usajobs.gov. That's where we advertise all of our jobs. That's the next question. Some of you are already familiar with that. And that's the process of you applying for a job. Now, I can explain it to you. I know how it is, how difficult it is to navigate through usajobs.gov. But I can give you a few pointers on this call. One is that you want to make sure that you review the entire job announcement. And that's where a lot of people fall because they don't review the entire job announcement. They just submit a resume. What you need to do is you're going to tailor your resume and write your resume to the job announcement. So that's where it gets a little bit different from private sector because private sector requires you to have just a specific, you can have a summary, a one type of resume, and you can submit that pretty much for, the jobs that you meet the qualifications for or that you're qualified to do. Well, in the government, it doesn't work that way because you're writing a resume to that particular job announcement. And the reason for that is you want to focus on the job duties and the specialized experience and education that is required for that job. You want to be able to address those items within those areas to show what you did, how it's relevant to what we're asking for under specialized experience and job duties. How is that relevant to that? What you did, how you did it, who you did it for, and for how long. Because we look at credit time. We credit you for that time that you did that particular job, depending on the number of years that we're looking for. So it's very important that you do that. We also have what's called the core or cadre of on-call response recovery employees. They're called our core employees. And they basically, the process is somewhat similar or pretty similar to the full-time employees. These individuals are hired to work for a specific limited period, usually between 2 to 4 years because they are funded. They may be renewed if there's ongoing disaster work and the funding is available. Again, the process is very similar to that of a permanent full-time employee. Again, you will be required to write your resume, again, to the job announcement. The thing about the core employees is that the benefits are basically the same. They're the same. The pay is the same, so there's not much of a difference. The only difference is that theirs is for a specific limited period. But for most of the times, it usually gets renewed. I've worked with core employees that have been with the agency for quite some time. It just depends on the needs and if the funding is available. Another hiring path is for local hire employees. Those are local residents who aid in the recovery of the community through the recovery process. So those are the people that are on the ground, boots on the ground, and are working for disasters. And typically those are 120-day appointments. However, they could be extended. Again, it's based on the needs of the disaster. Um, Students and recent graduates, that's going to be yourself. That yes, we do offer employment opportunities such as internships or internships, if I said it right, for the summer. As a matter of fact, we just had the Pathways internship program, which we did advertise for on Handshake, as well as usajobs.gov. And for that time period, it was, I believe, back in January was the deadline date to submit your resume along with your transcript for summer employment. But no problem if you're still going to be attending school next year. We will be offering, or we anticipate offering the program again. So you can check Handshake as well as usajobs.gov. That's where we will advertise for summer internships. FEMA Core is another hiring path that we use for 18 to 26-year-old participants. gives you the opportunity to serve communities impacted by the disaster, while also gaining professional development. And these particular roles are for 18 to 26-year-olds. We provide it's not the same as an internship where you get paid and so forth on a regular basis, but they receive an actual stipend as well as education awards in addition to that. Some of the special hiring authorities that we have are for veterans and military spouses, persons with disabilities. So if you fall under any of those categories, again, military, that's pretty much explains itself, military spouse, a person with a disability, which we require a Schedule A letter. And we have that letter on the FEMA careers.gov site. And I'll put that right there for you in the chat for you so you have that, where you can actually go out and read information on, hey, if I'm a person with a disability, would I qualify? And we do take under those considerations, those special hiring authorities, depending on the position. So you would need to go out to usajobs.gov, and then when you look for the job, you put in the keyword and then use the filter for persons with disabilities. Again, both special hiring authorities do require you to be qualified. So you still need to meet the job requirements. It doesn't mean that you get a foot in the door just because you're a person with a disability or you're a military veteran. With the Schedule A, like I said, it's actually a letter from your doctor certifying you that you have a disability. And there is a format letter out there for you to provide to your doctor's office to complete. And then what you can do is you can submit that along with your resume when you apply for jobs with those special hiring authorities. And I think that's all that I have to give you some information just about the hiring paths that we have. Like I said, we have over 23 different cadres. When I say cadres, I'm referring to like departments or groups to include maybe IT, logistics, HR, administration, finance. I could go on. But that's hopefully will give you an idea. Again, you can just go right to the link that I put in the chat. And now I'll give you the opportunity to ask me questions because I don't want to
Yeah,
take
I
up,
would
keep
love to open it up
talking.
to questions from the students. This is your
Sure.
chance to ask somebody any and all questions that you have about FEMA that you are curious about. So I'm going to open it up to the students and also to Melissa if there's any questions. Charles, I see you unmuted yourself. Go for it. Oh, we can't hear you. You want to try talking again? We can't. Nope.
You can type his question in the
Yeah,
chat
so I was
too. If
just
you
going to
want to
say,
do
Charles,
that, you can do that too.
why don't you type in your question? Let me see if anyone else has a question in the meantime. Yeah,
Let's
Melissa.
see.
Oh, Stephanie.
Sorry.
I'll go Stephanie and then Melissa.
Oh, hi, thanks for being here today. I would ask just anyone who has been through the federal hiring process, what's the interview kind of like at FEMA, especially?
And I can base it on my experience. So a lot of it has to do with us basically demonstrating your experience and talking about what you did, how you did it, and what was the result of that. Because just like any private sector, the government wants to know if you can save them money, save them time, whether you did a process or to save time, whether you were part of that or you were part of an initiative or so forth to save them money, then they're going to want to know that. So I would definitely really, really hone in on not just your skills, but what did you bring to the table as far as results? And you can demonstrate that, if that makes any sense.
It does, thank you.
I'm going to ask a follow-up to that for Melissa before I go to you. One of the things that we sometimes hear at certain agencies, and I'll ask whether FEMA does this, is that interviewers, in order to maintain objectivity, have like very, very clear set of questions that they don't vary from person to person. And they tend not to engage and show a lot of emotions, which is something very different we've heard with federal and people of experience. Is that what your experience is with FEMA?
That can be the case. It depends on who's interviewing you. And a lot of times what happens, they do that, as a way to avoid any type of issues, with, discrimination and so forth, and making sure that they ask candidates the same questions. I mean, it shouldn't be anything where you deviate from asking someone something different than what you would ask that, any other candidate that is applying for the same job. So it's to establish, consistency. To be fair, to every single candidate, to give them the opportunity to express, basically talk about their skills and experience. So that's the reason why they do that, the consistency. So there's no discrepancy. And well, why did you ask this person that? Why did you ask this person something different? Everyone should be asked the same questions and given the opportunity to provide their responses, if that makes any sense.
I
You're on
have some
mute.
other follow-up questions that I'll ask once the other ones go, but I saw Melissa or Charles, did you want to try first? See if we can get your. Still can't hear you. Let me go to Melissa. Keep trying.
You can
and
put
then
your
if that
question in put it in the chat if you want to.
Melissa, let me go with you.
Okay, thank you. So I love what you're saying about tailoring resumes to specific positions. Denise and I talk about this all the time. But I'm also interested if there are any, as you're kind of talking with people, if there are any specific skills that really jump out at you that you think, wow, we get really excited when we see this.
I guess it really depends on the job. It depends. We do so much in recruitment, working with different groups, and every group is going to be different as far as what are the type of skills that they're looking for. I highly recommend, a lot of it's in the job announcement. So really just paying attention to that. Specialized skills and experience. Look under that section and you're going to see everything that you need to see as far as for that particular role, what is required. Now, I can tell you, if we talk about jobs, I can let you know right now that we have a really big need for engineers. So I can run that by you right now. Engineers are a big need right now. Other areas might include IT. That's another big area that we look for individuals. But because of what we do, the nature of the work we do is emergency management. So that's a really, really big area, is emergency management, disaster management, because that's what we do. Now, the rest of the other jobs are, support roles as well, but they're very essential. But definitely, if you have a background in emergency management, disaster management, right now, engineering is pretty big right now. It's a pretty demanding field, though, and it's very, very competitive. Melissa's shaking her head, so I guess she can kind of resonate with that. So
I'm just trying to hit the mute button. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we got to be honest, and I think Denise, you and I spoke about this, so I'm not going to push back on it. Is that as far as the salaries are different from a government and private sector. Okay. So you're not going to find the same salary for a job that you apply for, let's see, or you qualify for in the private sector. Is probably going to pay. I'm not going to say may, it's probably going to pay a little more. Or depending on, the level, it's going to pay more than what the government does pay. So you've got to look at what are your real reasons for wanting to work for the government. Are you willing to, let's say, for example, you can get more money in the private sector for a specific job. Are you willing to sacrifice that? Because I do think that the government offers, to me, quite a few benefits, which is why I left private sector. I was making more money in private sector than I am with the government. I did that because of the fact that, I've been working for over 20 some years in HR, and I've experienced in probably the last, I want to say 5-6 years, 2 layoffs back to back. That's one of the disadvantages. And I was looking for job security. Now, my focus is job security and retirement. So government works for me for that. Now, some people may say, you know what, I want the money. Just It depends on what your needs are. What do you want? You know, I want the money. I'd rather have the money than you might want to consider, you know, or you may say private sector, because it's not going to pay the same. Government and private sector are two in dire field. Two is like apples and oranges. It's not apples to apples. So it's very hard to, how can I say it, negotiate for a higher salary in the government, regardless of the fact of how many years of experience you had, because that's the nature of the government. Now, with that being said, there is opportunity to grow, though. That doesn't mean you can't grow. You may start at one grade. It may not be necessarily be where you want to be, but you have the opportunity to grow from that into the next grade level and then the next grade level, et cetera, depending on how well you perform, you know, for the government. So you're bringing a lot of experience from private sector that you can bring into the government that you may be able to exceed expectations and, you know, move to higher grade levels. So there's that opportunity. Again, I look at job security. So, you know, should for whatever reason, you know, my current role be eliminated, then hopefully I'll have the opportunity to look within the agency, which is huge, over 20,000 employees, or consider other government agencies. So I'm in the system per se. This is shaking her head too. So I definitely would say, look at the pros and the cons. What's going to work for you? You know, if you're all just for the money, et cetera, it's about the money, then you're going to find that the pay is not going to be the same. It's going to be less than what you were possibly making in the private sector. Are you ready for that? With the opportunity that, hey, I can get in there and I can show them what I can do. And from that, I know that I'm going to grow and eventually get back to that salary that I was making in the private sector. Or you're going to just say, no, I'm just going to stay out and stay in the private sector. Again, job security, you know, job security. I'm not saying that private sector is always going to be that way, but they do experience layoffs depending on where you are, et cetera. So you want to take that under consideration. The retirement benefits with government is very competitive. So are the benefits. One of the things that I do get is I have a compressed work schedule. So they do flexibility with work schedules, very big on work-life balance, at least for FEMA, I'm speaking for that. The other advantage is that I work with a great team. You know, my supervisor is very flexible with me as far as my work schedule because, you know, as you know, Denise, I'm always traveling or I'm busy working. So I have time off to do that. One of his models is when you're off, I don't want you on a computer. I want you doing anything, period. So there's definitely that compassion for that, which I really, really appreciate. The flexibility. So I work a compressed work schedule where I work every pay period, which is 2 weeks. I get a day off, a day off. You know, my weekend, I'll take that Monday off. And then I can just make up the time during the week, you know, 4/10s and so forth for the first week. So it gives me that flexibility, which is very, very good to me. Very good. The other thing I want to mention is that I know I'm going over, so it's okay if everyone else is okay. I'm having a
do
good
have a question.
conversation
There is
here.
a question in the chat I do want to make sure we get to. So I'll let you
Sure.
finish. But I want to
Absolutely. Yeah, it's okay. Because we're under Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, so right now it's under Secretary Mayorkas. The first day I started, first 4 months, he was giving us admin leave, special admin days. You get this there, just take off. So you get an extra day for veterans, and then I got 2 days for Thanksgiving, and then 2 additional admin leave days for Christmas, just like that. And I didn't have to use any of my paid leave time. Because of the schedule that I was working really a very hectic travel schedule. So I was able to put some travel comp time in my bank. So I'm getting ready to go on vacation in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to use a full week of comp leave time. I don't even have to touch my leave balance, my accrued leave balance. So, you know, private sector won't let you do that. You don't get comp time. You don't get comp for that. You don't get special admin leave days. So those are benefits.
So Sharon, there's two questions in there I'd love to do.
Yes.
If we can get these done in the next 3 minutes would be
Okay, it's
fantastic.
all right. It's okay.
Well,
You
I
might have
also know
you
that
might
we
have me
have,
on a time frame. The
yeah, I
reserve
also know that
option.
students have want to get, this is,
Yeah.
it's an hour later for us and other students want it. So I want to make sure we
Yep,
get
I'll
these
go
other
right
questions
through it
in.
right now.
Yeah, that's okay. This is great. One question was about the reservist option.
Right.
Are they only needed in field? Pay scale any different based on experience? And how do employee safety training work for reservists? And the other question is, do communities have an opportunity to reach out to FEMA and work on preventative measures?
Well, the first one is that's from Charles. So the reservist position, the pay scale is different. I don't have that information. I can't tell you that, but it is different. It's going to be different from the regular permanent and the core level positions. And training is provided to you, so you're not just thrown out there when there is a disaster. You have to go through the training, necessary training. I understand it's like a week training that you go through for them to give you so that you know about safety and any other type of information they feel you need to know. Do communities have an opportunity to reach out to FEMA and work on I'm not sure I understand that one. Can you elaborate on that, Charles?
Unfortunately, I think Charles is one that couldn't
Oh,
speak.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
not sure I really understand. I just want to make sure that I
I'm
understand
guessing
that.
what you're trying to say, Charles, let me know, is it that, are you trying to ask if like communities can be proactive in how they reach out to FEMA to engage with FEMA on preventative work in their community? Is that what you're
Work in the
asking?
community as far as doing work in the
Yep.
community. Okay.
Right.
I believe so. I don't know and I'll be honest with you, if I have that, that's really kind of out of my scope. But I can tell you that we just had a community during February, the month of February, or no, January, for Dr. King's birthday, that we had the opportunity to go out and work in different communities, our groups and so forth, performing, whether go out to I don't know, where you actually feed the homeless, those places, and you prepare meals and so forth, but or just doing our own community work and notifying FEMA of it. They even gave us 4 hours of leave to do community work. So I hope that answers your question.
And what I would say to you, Charles, I was just looking, you're within the Elliott School. I would recommend in these cases, this might be, some of these questions are probably served looking at and seeing what Elliott School alumni are at FEMA and talking to people who are in the field. I always recommend that all of our students do that. And I'm sure within the Elliott School, I would work, their career services team is great over at the Elliott School too. So I would reach out to them and talk to people, like your question about building codes and community
Yeah,
engagement.
I wouldn't know that. Unfortunately, I don't know that, but you can also go out to the site and do searching, maybe you can try searching and there might be a department that handles that and that can respond to you.
I'm sure we have a lot of alum there that would be happy to have some informational calls with you. Our Trachtenberg School has a lot
Yeah.
of alum too. So that's always a wonderful way to learn. So I want to thank you very, very much, Sharon. This was really to take time out of on your schedule after a very busy day and for the students and to accommodate the change in schedule tonight, to provide a real honest perspective of what it is at FEMA. We really appreciate what we like to think of these as kind of, you're pulling the curtain back for us, for all
I
of
hope
us
I did.
here. So
Sure.
really thank you very much for what you do for FEMA and for our country.